Grand Rising, Grand Rising. This is the Straight Talk Morning Show. My name is Andre Hill, the host, and my co-host and engineer, Andre Hill Jr. You got a
Yeah. Grand Rising, fam.
we got his picture. Yeah. And we got the chairman of the Enlightened One Pack, the most powerful organization, the most spiritual organization in the history of mankind is on the horizon. And we have the president of Urban Progress Alliance, Brenda Allen. Can you say hello, everybody?
Grand Rising, everyone.
Grand Rising, family, and friends.
Absolutely. So this is an interesting show because I don't have my notes with me today. I just had what I posted on Facebook, and we're going to free flow on this because we had this epiphany, in terms of the burden and of the salvation of this planet has always been on the backs of the melanated people. The big issue is how do you get the melanated people to understand that so that they can take their position and usher in this paradigm shift. So this show is about from a marketing perspective. If you have like-minded people, it doesn't matter what your skin color is. It doesn't matter what your culture is. If you all see the big picture, that this planet is being tested, that we are enslaved by extraterrestrial and terrestrial entities that basically don't respect our lives, human lives. They look at us as animals. They look at us as, basically being retarded, where they have technology to manipulate us to work against each other, and so that tags those entities as low vibrational entities because every civilization has a choice, and if you choose to go in the wrong direction, like these low vibrational entities that are here on this planet manipulating us and causing us to do the horrible things to not only ourselves, but to our children and to our natural environment. So we had this part of, I think, myself and all of the panelists is trying to articulate how do we get this message out to our fellow human beings that we have this ability to make a choice on the utopia that we've talked about so many times on this planet. But we got a taste of it in terms of how the low vibrational entities, they're elevating their game and the complexity of how they divide us. And we just got a taste of it. And everybody on the panel had a chance to read the stream of emails between us and the Stephen Greer's team, because the like-minded people, we're looking for all the like-minded people. But if you are like-minded and you're still trying to, in a subtle way, maintain white supremacy or be the anointed one by artificial means, that you control the narrative of where the planet is going, it's not going to work. And it was just recently demonstrated because now, myself, other members of our team that are even not on here now, they forewarned us. This particular individual, this, that, and their agenda is questionable. So before I go any deeper into it, our chairman, Terrence, the late, had a chance to read the stream of emails. I want to get his view, and our president of Urban Progress Alliance, Brenda Allen, she's had a chance to review the email. And just to be fair, I sent this post to the Stephen Greer group to give them the opportunity to come on and explain themselves. Why wouldn't you want to partner with melanated people, understanding that the entities of the Most High, they're not going to shut down these low vibrational ETs until we demonstrate unity as a species. So I'm gonna pass the ball to the chairman of the Enlightened Ones Pack, and get your take on this, sir.
Okay. It was a very informative interview that he had. I really enjoyed the majority of it, because it just explained that extraterrestrials are real, and he's challenging the government to release certain information. He's not privy to say certain things yet, but he committed himself by saying that the United States got all this information with the radar and that physical eyesight from different pilots, that have seen this. How can you discount the fact that people actually seen it, and all the radar technology has acknowledged that this exists, but with Greer not reaching out to us to discuss, his findings, there's something strange about that, because he should be able to talk to anyone, not just the higher ups that he deal with, because he's privy to certain information that we're not. But yet we do know that extraterrestrials exist. The handwriting is on the wall all over this planet. Like I said earlier, one of our meetings about the Dogons, they're having their drawings on the cave showing that we came from a certain solar system, Sirius, and that's just a proof right there. And with the Caucasian brothers, when they came to the planet, they put us in slavery, not all of them, but some of them, because they felt that they were superior when they came to this planet and they seen us, and they thought, oh, maybe that's an extension from the monkey, but we got to dominate them. And they dominated us for a while, but now it's different. The domination is gone, not totally, because they do things behind the door, but the fact is that, we do have opportunities as Black people to come together, discuss these things, because it's necessary to bring this out. I talked about this over around 50 years ago and wrote it in a book and had it published, and I got criticized and ridiculed and everything else. People said I was just out of my mind, but now they're saying, oh, wow, how did you know all that? Well, from discussing it with people and my thoughts about how did we get to this planet? Did everybody come from Adam and Eve? And all that's discounted. That didn't happen. There were societies here way before Adam and Eve. And Greer brings that out in a sense, but the point is, he is letting us know that extraterrestrials are real, and he is giving us the information, but he's not giving us access to him where we want to question some of his uh, beliefs, you know. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so my concern, but before I hand it off to Brenda, he's creating this Pied Piper effect. How are you going to not, after I explained to him in the email our experiences, our team experiences. How do you not, at least, whether it's 5, whether it's 100,000, engage all of the like-minded people to be a part of this movement? Because that's the only way full disclosure, honest full disclosure, is going to happen. So, Brenda, you've had a chance to study the transmissions between myself and the Greer's team. So, what are your take on assessment on that?
Well, I appreciate Dr. Greer's purpose for bringing awareness to the people. Okay, so he brings that level of information. And for those of us that have the like-mindedness, then we'll receive it in the way that he's giving it. However, if there is some underlying disparity in his heart with things like fame and fortune, if he's looking for a greater following that will monetize his social media, then he has another agenda in mind. But yet we can't discount the information that he shared. And I again, I appreciate being informed. And then we, in return, give that information to those that will receive it from us, the enlightened ones. And so we carry on from there, and we make that connection from a very divine intervention, because that's how we're being led by the Most High Creator to communicate. And we do that with telepathy. And that's what Greer has been doing as a part of his following. He's gathered like-minded people, put them in a situation where everyone is thinking the same thoughts. He calls it the C5, whatever that is. And so if he is excluding Black people from making that kind of connection, then yeah, there's a missing link. However, we can do the same contact. And I am given the spirit of saying, let's do that anyway. We don't need Greer. We really don't. But if he wants to become a part of the whole unit, I mean, we are the nucleus. Black people are the nucleus of this entire universe, because it comes from Blackness. And so without us, he has only part of the solution, if there is one. But we have the entire solution, because it's encompassed in our melanin and in our DNA. And so with that, we can call on our benevolent ETs. And this is what I'm saying we need to do, Chairman Lake. You have that camping experience. And when Andre mentioned it earlier, we need to create our own synergy around bringing our like-minded people together. I don't care if it's just the 4 of us or the 5 of us or the 5,000 of us that come together. Our benevolent ETs will answer us. They will come to us. And what will happen when we do that? Oh my goodness, we will be transformed to such a higher level of consciousness and vibration that anybody else that we encounter will know it, will feel it, and will want to be a part of it. And that's how we're going to grow the numbers. And we don't need David Greer to do that for us. We do it ourselves.
Stephen Greer.
Stephen Greer, okay. Correct me, thank you, I'm sorry. Okay, so that's my take. We can do it, and we will.
So, and I appreciate your comment, and I'm really happy with you and the chairman. You know, we represent the generation that we felt that dropped the ball for the generations behind us, and now we're on the front line, you know, making up ground for the mistakes. I don't know if I want to call it mistakes, but we were deceived. So, but most importantly, my son's generation, you know, he had a chance to review the email, and you know, he's got his point of view, and this is critical because he's going to transmit to all of the people in this generation how we're going to deal with this issue where like-minded people that serving different agendas, but they like-minded, but they don't want to partner with the melanated people. What's your take on that, man?
Well, you know what? Well, first, when y'all were saying ETs, there's nothing wrong with the term ETs, but I want us to be able to think about that concept from a different perspective. When we think about beings in this universe from other parts of the galaxy, the solar system, extended parts of the universe, you know, we have to still remind ourselves that life is relative all over the universe.
Yes.
Right. So when we think about our melanin here on this planet, which is our form of chlorophyll, the same way plants have a green hue to them, that is simply their relationship with the celestial star that is most close to them. That's what gives them that hue, which allows them to draw in as much light and energy as they possibly can. And that is the top function of any life being, is to be in conjunction, be in harmony with this terrestrial planet that it is on, and also the life-giving star that is most close in its proximity. In our case, that would be the sun. So when we have this melanin, we have to assume and know that we have family out there in the cosmos who are also melanated.
Yes.
As a matter of the fact, 99.9% of our family out in the cosmos are melanated beings to some extent. So when we talk about ETs, we just have to simply think of them as celestial family. Now that leads me to this point. When we are, I'm gonna be straightforward with it, since this is straight talk. I'll be straightforward with it. The like-minded other cultures, particularly talking about Caucasians, we have to again remind ourselves that the truth of the matter is, when it comes to Caucasians, regardless of how much in a different direction they want to take our evolution on this planet, we just have to still remember they are still not, even their own modern scientists are not knowledgeable distinctly about where they come from.
We had that conversation
Right?
yesterday. Yeah, that's
And mind you, it's gonna sound funny when I say this, but I got white friends. You know how they say, well, I got a few black friends, and I ain't got the white friends that are just catering to black people either, for whatever reason. I have Caucasian friends across the spectrum of Caucasian people. And I'm willing to say this to any one of them, because I have this conversation with them all the time. And I'm gonna be wrapping this point up. I know you got to get to your next point.
No, your point of view is critical right now, because we're on those last legs, and we got to pass the baton. So the things that you're saying right now are critical to your generation on how to get them to engage right now. So you do your thing.
I got you. So the Caucasian people I've talked to, if I have a very deep conversation about them, about human origin, I am humbly able to back them into a corner to where I can say to them, yeah, I can at least give you some kind of scientific measure on how far back people who look like me exist on this planet, but you can't do the same. And you can't. And I'm not mad at you. I don't hate you, but it's just science that you cannot prove where you come from, can you? Right? So then I have to go into a little history lesson with it. Mm-hmm. When it comes to, the concept of ETs, we have to just think that their concept of ETs essentially draws from their concept of mythology. The same way they thought of gods, let's talk Greek and Roman gods, which they got those concepts from us in the first place. The reason is, when they came and learned everything that they learned from Africans, we deliberately told them, listen, when it comes to understanding your interaction and interface with nature, mythology is an African way of attaching beautiful poetic stories to nature and mathematics. That's how we interface with it, but we are still well aware of where we come from. And also our stories of the gods is still relatively true in comparison to when they talk about Zeus, when they talk about Hades, when they talk about all of that. That was their rendition of the gods. That was their rendition of ETs, but that was simply a plagiarism. Or matter of fact, let's not call it plagiarism. We deliberately told them, when you go back up to Europe and you start to build your civilization in likeness of ours, one of the best ways that you're going to be able to interface with nature is by having a mythology where your face is plastered on the god that you serve. You have to have that, because because the truth of the matter is, if you're a Caucasian and then you are worshiping a god or interfacing with nature with an image that looks like mine, then it'll only be 200 years before you don't exist anymore, because you've been trying to integrate with our people because you think our people are God. Right?
Good point.
You think our people are God, right? So we gave them that science, and now it is turned into ETism. And here's where we see where they don't integrate any black ETs into their conversation. They don't reference all of the engagement, the interaction, the visitations of the melanated people on this planet and beings from other places. Right? What we've seen in the last 100 years when it comes to ETism mostly is this. you see a lot of activity that has to do with Caucasian people interacting with ETs and their version of them interacting with ETs. Very rarely do you see them insert our narratives, which is the largest narrative of this, into their conversations, right? And so, saying all of that to say this, just what you have all said, and concluded, if his idea is for viewings, then we can't expect him to do the righteous thing, or even just the objective thing, to say, well, if I really went around the world and truly did some investigation and research into UFOs, into otherworldly beings, then I would have no other choice but to consult deeply with the melanated people on this planet and get their perspective on it. Right. So if he doesn't want to have us on his show, that's fine. We can go talk to our folks all over the world who have the true catalog of this world's history and our interaction with our celestial family.
Mandatory.
All right. That's my take on it.
And if he has left out any intervention he might have had with Black extraterrestrials, then he's a liar.
And he's a liar.
He's not telling us the truth.
Exactly.
So then, we have to discount that.
Well, that's an interesting point, Brenda, because in my book, The Second Coming, when I started seeking the truth, I interviewed a Caucasian female. We've talked about this on a previous show. And this is what ignited me spiritually to a point of no return in terms of ignorance. She talked about, when she was abducted, and that the entities, I think they were grays or something, but the typical ETs that abduct them, that are what I refer to as low vibrational ETs, and she was horrified by them because it wasn't natural what they were doing to her. But then when she told me, now this was a turning moment in my life. When she told me, she said, "But the Browns." I said, "The Browns?" She said, "Yes." She said, "They were the spiritual ones. They comforted me while these other ETs were raping my body and injecting me, and they comforted me." I'm going like, "What?" "Yes." I said, "Well, describe them." She said they had thick skin, kind of like elephant skin, and they were dark brown, but they had beautiful eyes like starbursts. And I went like, "Whoa!" And then my critical thinking kicked in. Well, how did they come on the low vibrational ET ship and comfort you? That means that their technology was far greater than these grays, these tall whites, and these reptilians, and the horrible things that they do to humans in disrespecting us. All right? The Browns interceded, overrided, circumvented their technology, and said to this Caucasian woman, "Peace be still. You're gonna be all right."
Yeah.
Huh?
And that's just our nature of hospitality. We embrace all of nature. We do that naturally. And so if someone discounts that and will exclude us from that, then they are the ones that are living in a less than source of life. So I question how many of us are truly enlightened and like-minded. And Andre and I, we've had this conversation. There's a brother out of Las Vegas. His name is Kidi Awadu, and I'll shout him out. He's a vegan chef. He's also a very astute metaphysicist, scientist, and researcher, and he loves doing research. And so I want to reach out to him to ask him to if he would be able, or what steps would be needed to aggregate and count all and help us bring together all the like-minded people. I mean, is it just 500 of us? Is it 5 million of us? And I think he can do that. He would be excited about doing that, and saying, one of his followers, I think his name is Brother Abaku, I think is his name, but he says, how many of there are, how many of us are out there? And so we need to know the number if we can find it. And I think he'll be able to help us get to that number. I also want to mention Jessie Hogabook, because she's doing a monumental job too. She's writing her book on ufology, and coming from that melanated state of mind and like-mindedness. Even though she can't join us on the show, we do welcome her. But once she's done with her research and her book, then we will have probably a much more accurate accounting of what's going on than Stephen Greer could even give us from a perspective that is of our melanated, objective.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So part of Stephen Greer, my son and I, we study astrology. Like his grandmother that introduced me to astrology when I was 12 years old, very elementary stage of it. Like she did me, I also passed it on to my son. So when she introduced me to the elementary phase, that was the foundation. And then I took it to another level of understanding the elementary, and then incorporating the monthly and annual calculations into the relationship between the soul and the human body. And so when I did my research on Stephen Greer, and also to Brenda, what you were saying about Jessie kind of warned me, like, well, she's that Scorpio woman. Scorpio women are very critical. They don't play, so they get to the point, and they don't cut in the trump cards. And she was like, I don't trust him. I said, okay, but I'm required to give the benefit of the doubt. That's just because all of us on this panel and the ones that's going to join us are the chosen ones that's going to save this planet. Without a doubt, I didn't talk to top-notch CIA agents that thought they were the crap, thought they had it going on. Investigators, top-notch investigators in the United States government. And when it came to, hey, why don't you work with us, to incorporate us into this paradigm shift, all of them, even this badass CIA agent, he basically said, hey, man, I got to back out. Even this world-renowned investigator that investigated the film of the autopsy, but when it came to incorporating or being inclusive with a melanated man that was on a much higher level than them, hey man, I got to back up. So I know everybody on this panel, everybody that's going to associate with us, we are the chosen ones. We are the group that's going to make that difference with this planet. But getting back to the point of the astrological, when I did my research on Stephen Greer, he's a Cancer born in the year of the goat. I went like, whoa, okay. And so he put on a good act, with the tears and, I'm really sincere about this. And, and I said, okay. So when I reached out to them, and at first it took them a while to respond back, but I guess they start noticing that we are the ones and we're upcoming. So they got to test our metal. Wrong thing to do, because our metal is invincible. So I already know that it's challenging for a person born in the house of Cancer and in the house of goat. It's going to be difficult for them to have a benevolent spiritual soul towards balance and equality. I knew that would be a challenge, just like we talked about the different leaders with China. Those individuals, all of those leaders, they don't have benevolent souls. If you don't have a mix of benevolent souls in the equation, they got an evil agenda. So I'm going to let the professor, as he's known, give me your take on a person born in the house of Cancer in the year of the goat.
That's like a Cancer's cancer. and a goat's goat, right? So that lineup is so similar to itself when we're talking about the month versus the year. This is a very emotional person. Is to speak to their benevolence or their malevolence. It's like I'm gonna be very frank. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think they have a deficiency in benevolence. Not necessarily. When you think of Cancer people, think of very nurturing people. These are the mothers of the zodiac sign. I mean, of the zodiac wheel, right? Cancer people are. But when it comes to a particular type of integrity on a stage like this, he may not be in the position, because mind you, he also has a marketing team. You have to remember that. Same way we have a marketing team, he does too. More than likely, his marketing team is the one that gave that order to say, well, got to run y'all through the filter. If you don't have 10,000 followers just yet, then we can't collaborate, right? But as far as him being able to sit on his own throne of his organization and say, hey, no, I want to engage and be involved with some of the grassroots podcast organizations out there, regardless of how many followers they have, and regardless of what color they are, of what ethnicity they are. I want to do that. No, he's probably entirely too wrapped up in his own let's just say femininity within a male body to make a stern stance to say, no, it's like, I need to get involved and hear the narrative of the melanated people on this planet, right? So saying all that to say this, now his personal life, he may be one of the most comforting and nurturing people. He still has some level of schizophrenia. In other words, he goes back and forth between personalities. All cancers do, because they're consistently going through a cycle of emotions. Consistently, that's how they evolve. That's how they communicate. All right, that's how they communicate. So him being in a considerably stable mindset to be able to handle the outreach of his organization. Put it like this: he knows he's not capable of that. His team knows he's not capable of that as well, right? More than likely, the people that we talked to was somebody more like a Capricorn who said, y'all ain't got 10,000 numbers right now. That's just not good business for us. And that's fine. That's fine. We understand that. That doesn't shake us even, one way or the other. We like I said a few moments ago, when it comes to the archive of supernatural, metaphysical, extraterrestrial, otherworldly events on this planet, our people are the ones who have the largest archive. We can always go and engage and communicate with our own people and be able to tell the most intricate and immaculate stories possible on this planet. So anyway, saying all that to say this, I don't want to throw any salt at Stephen Greer and or his organization. It's not necessary, right? It's not necessary. All I can say is this, and saying this objectively, there's a very good chance he missed out on an opportunity to get involved with us at this level, because from here on out, we're going to be building these microcosms to where it's going to be some celestial family that just come park their ships right up on our front lawn. You see what I'm saying?
Every day.
And this is where we're heading. And anybody who's not wanting to get involved right now, we're going to have to take some considerable measures later on down the line to say, if you didn't want to engage with us then, what is your motive operandi for wanting to engage with us now? All right. So that's my take on it.
Hey, so Chairman, you and I talked about this situation, and of course, like I say, Jesse just was like, "Nah, I ain't messing with it." But Chairman, you were a little bit more benevolent. So in dealing with his personality, what do you see?
I still see him as a person that wants to inform society because he is taking an active role, you know. And just to go back a little bit when we are talking about the Caucasians not knowing where they came from. Now, I have, like I said before, a lot of family members that are Caucasian, and I've met a lot, lived with a lot of them in different neighborhoods and over in Canada. But one thing I do know they didn't come from us. Okay, they know that. And that's what they sort of hold over us because they know they came from somewhere else, but like you say, they don't know where. Okay. And that's really important because they have to protect their society in a sense because they don't want to be open enough where once we get in the door, we learn eventually we'll take over. There's an old saying, monkey see, monkey do. And if they let you get in the door, then it's over. So that's why they keep that door shut or they open it up and let one or two in. But they're not going to let the whole caboodle in because they know that's just too much knowledge. You know, God's children are God's children, and everybody's got this vast potential to do great things, but it's controlled. And that's what they're doing right now with this extraterrestrial thing. They're trying to control the information, and
Absolutely.
we already know. You
Yeah.
know, I'd like to read something right here. It's called The Black Sheep. The Black people in America are considered the black sheep of the human race. They have always sought to identify with their universal brothers and sisters, but in their efforts, they have gone astray. But time will tell if they regain their spiritual powers and unite their universal family under the power of the human race. And that's what we always try to do, come in with other societies, bring them together under a oneness, and that's to our advantage, you know, to make sure that people come in peace. You got to be in that crowd to make sure they're not plotting against you. You know, that's what I have to say.
Hey, so I want to get Brenda's take, and after that, there was a video that Stephen Greer did that concerned me, and I'm going to talk about that, and also we'll talk about the challenges of Black folks, and if they don't engage, and then expand on why they're not engaging, because usually I get my downloads like Thursdays and Fridays, what the Guardians want me to reveal. But I got to download just an hour or so before the show today that I got to share with Black folks in terms of how the reincarnation program works, and and the respect that I have for this panel, willing to sacrifice all. So, but Brenda, women read us differently than how we as men read each other. So you've seen Stephen Greer and you watched his videos. Give me that feminine energy on what you detect from this brother.
Well, his background is a doctor, right? And I think he's a surgeon. So Junior spoke about having a sense of benevolence and having good bedside manners. So yes, he will be able to have that sensitive side. And again, I say though, if he tends to exclude for whatever reason information, then he's not being totally truthful with the world. And if that's the case, he should say that. I don't want to deal with Black people. I don't want to deal with the melanated nation. I just want this information to go to those that are of a Caucasian race. Be honest if that's what his agenda is. But again, there's no full disclosure if he wants to exclude people. And we are beings, we are human beings. And if he's had contact with any celestial being at all when he's called together these camps, then surely he's been exposed to melanated beings. Whether or not he wants to admit it, then that's on him. And that's his karmatic, um, whatever he has to live out for not sharing that information. So that's my take on it. I would hope that he, within his own heart of heart, realize that all of us are the same as human life with human beings. And so therefore we all need to have the information that he it has to give. And again, if he excludes it, then he's not being honest with himself and to the world.
Yeah. So, all right. So now I've been watching and studying him closely, as I do all. Linda Howe, Nick Pope. Linda Howe was a Caucasian female that talked about a lot of abductions out in the country on the farm, where in cow mutilations, and then Stephen Greer discredited that, and she was a little upset about it. Nick Pope, which is a British former British administrator, he talked in a negative way about Stephen Greer, but I expect that from him because he's a disinformation officer. Even though he was a administrator that knew all about the extraterrestrials, all about the sightings and all that, he's still trying to play it down, water it down, and say, yeah, it's happening, but we don't have a plan to do anything about it, and we're going to maintain white supremacy as we're going to ride this train until the wheels come off of it, So I question Nick Pope's agenda. Linda Howe, she was a little disturbed that she had to talk about him, but my big concern is that they're creating the Pied Piper syndrome here, because they know the white supremacy is being used by these extra low vibrational extraterrestrials to keep us jacked up, and if they lose that illusion, then the game's up. But I saw a video before this most recent video, and he said, if you're watching this, Stephen Greer said, if you're watching me on this video, most likely I'm dead. I said, wow, because he was explaining how different members on his team were murdered, and some strange things were going on, and then he had another emotional outburst, and basically he said, I'm experiencing survivor guilt. But then after that video, he said, if you're watching this video, most likely I'm dead. And then all of a sudden, this latest video came out. So is he a clone, or did they compromise him? Or are they positioning him to say, now look, you are the Caucasian race who we gave this special treatment to in exchange for your loyalty. So now we're getting ready to bust you up if you don't change the program, and we're going to use you to put you in a position as the Pied Piper to lead all humans, and especially melanated people, who is the focus of destruction on it through this Nazi Luciferian agenda. So you're going to choose a position. So did he do that, or is he dead, or is this a clone or a lookalike? So instead of us getting so caught up in this, melanated people and Caucasian people that understand the principles of reincarnation, that want to be able to come back in the next life, because like I said, I got a nice body. I like my life, but in the next life, I want to improve. I want to upgrade if I have to come back to the physical plane. So I'm working on that right now. So technically, what this is a call to order, a call to first melanated people. Hey man, I've been really disappointed because these Luciferian reptilian agenda, they don't put a little money out there for you. You got them PPL loans, you got this, you're feeling a little relief, But that's, you got to be very cautious of why that is happening all of a sudden, you know, because in this age of awakening or revelation, as you read in that so-called Bible, it means they're about to be revealed. So they're pulling out all stops. So I had this talk with a close friend of mine this morning. This is when I came to this conclusion of engagement. And he said, man, why you keep doing this? You know, you keep meeting with people, you keep, you know, sacrificing, you know, you got an old busted up car. They done crashed your son's car. Now his car is busted up, you know, and we're struggling, you know, to maintain this agenda. And he said, you know, they don't care. People don't care. And I said to my homeboy that I've been known since we were kids. Matter of fact, our families connected before we were born. That's how he and I were connected. So I said, you know what, man? I say, you know, I understand that what I'm putting in to the universe right now is going to help me in the next life. So in the next life, I know I'm coming back as royalty. And a lot of my friends that are continuing to go for the BS and fall for this fake religion, fall for these material possessions, they're going to come back as peasants, and then they're going to be mad with me because I put the work in this life to come back as royalty. I came back in this life, even as a Black Native American man, in a very balanced family, a mother and a father, a beautiful home, and you know, all of the trimmings that a child would want to be born into. I got to the point where I was almost embarrassed to say what I'm saying right now, because a lot of the kids resented me, you know? And so I'm saying, well, you know, I think I earned this to be here, you know, maybe you didn't earn it. And so now I realize that right now, what I'm putting in this life right now will dictate the next life, the next 10 lives. And if I have to be born into royalty over and over again, and the people that don't get this, that want to continue, are going to be coming back as peasants, and they're going to get jealous with me again and over until maybe one day in the next 10 lives, they might wake up and say, maybe I need to do what Andre is doing so I don't have to be born a peasant, you know? And that was the revelation, that was the message I got this morning. Everybody on my staff, on this staff right now, are going to be born into royalty. Like, you know, and then once again, all the ones that the naysayers and the doubters, like right now, Queen Mother Brenda Allen. This is a Black woman that's putting her heart and soul into this mission. And we have interviewed, talked to hundreds of other Black women to work with her, to support her. And she's been ill and still putting her heart and soul into it. She's coming back as a beautiful queen in her next life. She's a beautiful queen now, but even in the next life, she's going to break any cycles of generational curses, because she's investing in the movement of awakening to wake our people up. You know, Terrence, he's a king. You know, my son, he's a king. We're earning right now by seeking. The old saying, knock and the door shall be open, seeking you will find, and asking you will receive. We're doing that, you know, and as a collective. So I'm very proud to be associated with everybody on this panel, even the ones that's not on the panel. Jessie, she's doing her thing. Barry Littleton, he's doing his thing. But we know what we got to do. So this call to order, you know, this man, Stephen Greer, just demonstrated, hey, we're going to try to ride this white supremacy thing. We know we can't have you melanated people. We can't joint venture with us because they're going to take us out. We're going to ride this white supremacy thing till the wheels come off. So the call to order to melanated people and Caucasians to get what I'm saying. To those Caucasians that saying, I've had Caucasians say, I don't want this body. I want me a beautiful Nubian body in the next life. Then start transferring your resources into an organization like us, because we're not going to punish you. We don't have retribution. Whatever you've done, that's between you and the grand creator. But come join this organization. Go to our Straight Talk Network. Sign up with us. You know, and our Enlightened Ones Pack, we talked with the state of Florida. We had to make a few adjustments in our application, so it will be up and running very soon we're going to want you to sign this membership. We're going to do movies, documentaries. We're going to get the new spiritual goddesses and gods to go start researching the truth of the history of this planet. And we're going to save this planet. That's our attitude. And even to the point where on our last breath, a drop of blood, everybody on this panel and the ones that are associating with us, we're working on royalty, not only in this life, but in the next 10 to 20 lives. And if you're sitting back saying, being a naysayer, and you come back as a peasant in the next life, now you know, because this story, this presentation is going to resonate through your soul for the next 10 lives. Sit back and say, well, I got my, I want a Ferrari. I want all of this crazy madness, this material possessions you cannot take with you in the next 10 lives. But you can take with you the fact that you ignored this opportunity to be a part of the movement to save your babies and to save your planet. Hey, I got to pass the ball. I'm getting emotional now. Hey, Chairman, you want to do a take on that?
Well, my thing is, we were all put here on planet Earth to live in harmony with each other, and it's very important that we do that, because the extraterrestrials, our kin, they are not going to get involved. They're watching us. They're showing the evidence of their existence to let us know that we're so close to that paradigm shift that, they're trying to stop us from destroying ourselves with the nukes and all this other craziness that's going on. So us ones that are awakened and enlightened, we have to continue to spread this message to each other and others. And this will grow, like you say, to the point where everybody will want to be a part of it, because it's good for everybody. It was meant for everybody. And it ain't going to be right until it's right.
That's right. So Chairman, so me and my son had this conversation this morning, because I said, so whatever I did to earn the great childhood that I have, and a lot of kids were mad, like, why you gotta have a good child? He and I, and in turn, when he was born, I made sure that he had, I'm gonna let him, go ahead, man. Tell me your take on that. What?
Well, you know what? We did have that conversation there. But while you were talking, some of the downloads things. And, it's the same concept, but a slightly different direction.
I can't hear.
Can you hear me now?
It's low.
What about now?
A little better.
A little better? Make sure I'm talking straight into the mic there. All right, so yeah, you're right. Came into this world, some interesting circumstances, but for the most part, especially during my childhood, my life was pretty good, thanks to my parents, right? But to touch on some other things that you've been saying, one of the reasons that I've incarnated, when it comes to this peasantry versus this royalty, it's not going to be any of that anymore. When I incarnated, I was spiritually charged with a mission to raise the vibration of the human beings on this planet. So they are so much in harmony with their planet, there's no such thing as peasantry.
Yes.
Mm.
Right? There's no such thing as peasantry anymore. All the reason we have this peasantry is because we play a monopoly game where if some people get the cheat codes to the game, they get more money. And if you ain't got the cheat codes, you got less money, and that's what makes you a peasant. But once we eradicate that entire system, which that's what this mission is all about.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about, is eradicating that whole
Mm-hmm.
parasitic system,
Mm-hmm.
the peasantry versus what we consider royalty. Because we can look at it like this. Every single one of them trees in your backyard is royalty. Why? Because they contribute so much to the energy grid here. Contributing so much. That's what we want to get synonymous with. That's what we want to be in harmony with. And also from an astrological perspective, this entire planet is moving into a galactic sector, to put it lightly, a galactic sector where the vibration in this particular part of the universe is much more high vibratory than the energy that we've seen on this planet over the last 2,000, 6,000 years. What we're moving into is an energetic realm where there's going to be souls incarnating. They're going to come equipped with wanting to come through parents who have already set up the foundation for them to be as harmonious with this planet. And let me sidestep for a second. Being harmonious with this planet is the least you can do. Y'all see what I'm saying? That is elementary, being in harmony with the planet. But being in harmony with this planet so that you can be free to create way more beautiful experiences from a human perspective. That's what we're going to be generate on this planet from here on out. All right, from here on out. So going back to what you're saying, was I able to incarnate on this planet with a great family? Absolutely. Obviously, I did what I needed to do in prior lives in order to be able to deserve that. But looking at the future, let me step back a little bit. Me saying, okay, so I want to be able to have a family where the social interaction between the family is intact and family healthy, right? Yeah, that's fine. But all of that was still based in this matrix. I still had to realize that I was coming into this matrix to where the family that I was going to have still had to play this game based on the time that we were in. Right? All of that is what I came here to dismantle and build a better foundation, a much better foundation of love, acceptance, and high vibratory energy from here on out. That's my take on it.
All right, so I want real quick, Brenda, because I got to give. I want your take, because on the generational curses, and because even though in my family, I have brothers and sisters, and sometimes you can still be born in a family of, I'm not going to say royalty, but let's say comfort. And still, if you have a combination of all of the physical attributes and born into that royalty, it's a beautiful thing. Because my brothers and sisters, I'm gonna say this, even they'll be jealous of you in the family, because you don't get all of the trimmings. You can be born into a royal family and not have any legs, arms, and or the wherewithal to be different. So it's everything that you put in this life will residue throughout all your next lives. And so the message is, don't be getting mad, in this life and jealous about humans, because you don't know what they did to earn their status or their position. But Brenda, real quick, then, because you've had an interesting life, coming from the West Coast. What's your take on that?
Well, I did absolutely come from a childhood that was very diverse, really, and I'll tell the story at another time. But in essence of the minutes we have, my purpose, and I realize what it is to bring goodness and positive energy to this planet. And once we get to know what our true purpose is, then we walk within that truth and knowledge. I've also been given the wherewithal to know that I have to share my knowledge and with those that might not know their history and where they came from. And again, it boils down to, once we know our purpose and use our sense of discernment and our power, then we bring down all these institutions that are comprised of racism, white supremacy, oppression, police brutality. And then we bring forward the goodness within us. And then we have created that peace and harmony with nature and with ourselves and with our future generations. My 15-month-old great grandson will be the recipient of living in a world that is just as Andre Jr. described it, with peace and joy, love, harmony, prosperity, abundance, goodness, balance, prosperity, all of those principles and all of those aspects of life that is here on our planet, and no one else will be able to take it from us.
Absolutely. So, once again, I'm proud to work with this group. This is a call to arms right now. Melanated people, especially my melanated women. Brenda needs help. There's a lot that she's engaging with. There are great opportunities unfolding, but there's one thing, you ask for these opportunities, but you have to follow through administratively. We need some melanated women to step up and join this queen. So that in your next life, even this life, if we step up right now, you can start experiencing this utopia right here, and definitely in the lives to come. Our chairman, Terrence, he's had a struggle with his family members, of getting to accept the knowledge that he was inspired with, and he's a great man. And so all of your peeps need to get with you and support you as the chairman of this Enlightened Ones pack, because this pack is going to make the difference. It's going to rally people to come together to vote out all of these mentally deranged, psychotic maniacs that are bought into these low vibrational entities that's destroying our planet. Right now, down here in Florida, the residual of this bad technology to enslave us is exposing. We're getting red tide again. Dead fish are showing up. Those are signs that this planet is sick. It's out of order, and we can fix that. But if you keep allowing these mentally deranged psychotic maniacs to continue with this hamster wheel, this slave system, they got to keep creating unnatural commerce to keep you enslaved. And that it doesn't have to be, So we're encouraging you to join go to straighttalk-network.com and, sign up with us. Go to info@straighttalk.network.com. I know you ain't going to remember me saying all this, but just replay the video, and I'm going to say it slower. Info@straighttalk-network.com. And sign up with us. The Enlightened Ones pack, we straighten out the discrepancies with the organizational structure. So we'll be setting up that website where you can go and become a member. It's going to be real simple becoming a member. And that membership will give us the ability to hire the young people in the younger generations, my son's generations, to start taking this knowledge that we have and organizing this utopia on this planet. Also, again, I'd like to thank our panel. I'd like to thank our executive producer. She's here in the studio, and our studio is in our residence. She's here in the studio with us this morning. She is working on bringing things together. So we have a team. The team needs support. We need young people that want to learn. If you're in college, we have an internship program. Come work with us. Or if you old school like us, like the generation that's standing out front, get your kids to join up with us. We have a plethora of knowledge to share with them to shift this thing, because a lot of you think your kids ain't worth a damn. They don't help around the house. They don't want to go to work. Yeah, they're rebelling against this slave system. So our system is going to create a paradigm for them to want to engage. They don't want to engage in this system. It's evil. So that's it. That's our take on it. I think our panel, this has been the Straight Talk Morning Show. In the next week or so, we should have some more information coming on. Hey, be careful with Stephen Greer, because he sounds like a Pied Piper to me. It might not even be him, because remember on that video, he said, if you're watching this video, he was dead. And now all of a sudden, these other videos coming up. Be very careful with the false flags that these mentally deranged psychotic maniacs is thinking about creating so they can continue maintaining this dominance and control. Also, be concerned about what you call holograph second coming. They have the technology. They did this down in Cuba to project this European Jesus Christ and have you going off a cliff following that image. Be very careful. The Christ is in you. Bring him out. Bring her out. It's already in you. All you got to do is very simple. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And don't forget, say this in your mind over and over. I disconnect from the matrix, and we are dismantling these mentally deranged psychotic maniacs. We're dismantling their bodies and all these material possessions that they are taking in exchange for balance on our planet. This has been the Straight Talk Morning Show. Hey, we appreciate you for listening. That means you're ready to open up. That means you're ready for change. Thank you. Peace out.
Peace out.
Goodbye. Ashe.